Hey everyone, this is the American History 1, History 131 syllabus tour video for summer 2020. You will note that says section I01. I have two sections of History 131 this summer. The due dates and policies are exactly the same, so pardon the section number if you're in section 2. But the content is entirely the same, so I'm just going with this one. Alright, so this is just to go over kind of the nuts and bolts of the syllabus, the highlights, the main things you need to think about. I do want you to read it in full on your own, because this isn't story time, right? I don't need to read the whole thing to you, but there are some policies that I do want to make sure I cover, like I would if we were sitting in a classroom together. Alright. So, please read the syllabus carefully. Please also not let me get any emails. I have to close my emails. Alright. Okay. The last day to drop this class without a grade penalty, that means you would drop yourself from the class and you would get a WD, which does not affect your GPA, is July 1st. Okay. Now, if you stop attending and I drop you, that does not get you a WD. If you stop attending and I drop you, that's a WF. That's the same as an F on your GPA. So if you're thinking about leaving the class at some point, if you miss, a couple of weeks and you know you're going to miss another one, you can only miss 2 weeks of class in here, then it might be time to reach out to me and let me know that you want to or intend to drop yourself. Hopefully that doesn't happen, but stuff happens to all of us, so I like to just mention that. This is information about me. I am Amanda Zakanis. I'm going to have virtual office hours via either Skype or Zoom. I will have it totally set up and ready to go by the time you actually watch this video, but I don't have it entirely set up and ready to go at the current moment. So it will be either Skype or Zoom. The information, the link for that will be available to you in the My Instructor tab, along with all the other contact information and everything that you need. So that'll be Tuesdays and Wednesdays from 1 to 1:30. You don't have to show up. You can if you want to. This is a great place for students to pop in virtually and ask me any questions they have about something we talked about in class, or an assignment coming up, or just to say hi. I've had students do all of those things, so feel free to pop in, or if you think you're good, or if you think an email will cut it, send me an email instead, or you can use my Google Voice phone number that's right here to give me a call. So lots and lots of ways to get in touch with me. The best way to get in touch with me outside of those virtual office hours is going to be email. I respond to email pretty quickly. I'm going to say within 24 hours. It's usually more like within 12 to 18, but I like to say 24 hours just in case, give myself a little bit of a buffer there. So please send me an email if you have a concern, if you're struggling, if something happens, you have an emergency or something's going on that you need to communicate to me. Say, Amanda, I'm going to be late on this and here's why, and if it's a documented excuse, which we'll get to that later when we talk about late work and all that kind of stuff, I'm happy to work with you. But I can't help if I don't know. So email is going to be the best way to let me know something's going on. So we are in American History 1. This is going to be Native North America through Reconstruction, which is the period after the Civil War. So we're going to talk about all kinds of different stuff. Very excited about it. And I get really, really jazzed about this kind of stuff. So be prepared for nerding out and all that. And you've been warned. So, yeah, we're going to cover a huge, huge amount of time in, like, 9 weeks. It's fine. We got this. So, we're going to move at a very fast pace. Just keep that in mind. We're going to be totally online. Everything is submitted online through Blackboard. The Blackboard tour video goes through the Blackboard shell. Everything is very clearly labeled. I'm sure you opened that and were like, nerd. Yes, that is correct. I have all the weeks laid out within those weeks, the different parts of the week, the assignments, the readings, the inquisitive activities, everything is laid out in a very organized way in the hopes that it helps you find it. Now, if you do have any questions, if you need to look for something and you can't find it, or if the instructions aren't, clear for you, please, please, please contact me and let me know. I'm happy to talk you through something. Things that you need to be able to do when you're done with the class. You will be, you'll need to be able to write essays. So you're going to do some shorter versions. Those are discussion boards. Those count toward participation. Then you're going to have one bigger paper, 3 to 5 pages. And there are 2 prompts. You pick one. And that's going to come later in the semester. In fact, the dates for that are below. We'll get there. We are going to learn to read, think, and write historically using primary source documents. Primary sources are primary. They are written at that time period. So a primary source would be something like Alexander Hamilton or Frederick Douglass or Elizabeth Cady Stanton or Ida B. Wells. So all those folks, Cesar Chavez, which now I'm getting into like modern stuff, but all those folks wrote about things that were happening to them at the time that they were happening. Those are primary source documents, things written by people who lived through those events. We will practice critical thinking, which is a very, very important skill. We'll be doing that by creating evidence-based arguments and challenging arguments that you're given. It is okay to read something in a textbook and be like, I don't know if that's the right angle to be looking at this, and here's why. When I read this document, I saw da-da-da-da-da-da. So it's absolutely okay to be like, I don't know if I agree with Eric Foner. Yeah, he's got a PhD in history and he's like super big deal, but you can totally be like, I think we can look at this a different way, and you can use evidence to back up that opinion. Let's see, change, continuity, and contingency. These are really important. I call them the 3 C's of history. Change, obviously, something changes, it's not the same. Continuity, things continue basically as they were. That's a lot of sameness there. Contingency is when something could have gone one way and it went a totally different way. It's a moment of uncertainty or unpredictability in history. And there are so many moments like that that are fascinating and important. And a lot of the reasons why things ended up happening the way that they did is because of everyday people like us. And so we're going to talk about all that kind of stuff, and it's super duper cool and exciting, at least to me. Hopefully it'll be at least mildly entertaining to you. And a bunch of other stuff. Let's see. Lastly, I'll say we're going to consider questions of race, class, gender, sexuality, region, ethnicity, and culture to evaluate the continuing struggles for equality and access in America. We have digital books. Very excited about this. And it's a bundle package. It's the 5th edition, the full edition, Volume 1 for Give Me Liberty and Voices of Freedom. There's the ISBN. That's the package ISBN. The bookstore has that information. And you do need the code that comes with it to access the inquisitive activities, which are a large part of participation. So you will need to order that package for those e-texts. The very cool thing is that, and you know, maybe I'll walk you through it, I'm not sure. You don't need books for the first week of class. So if you can't order books until the second week of class, or if you can't have books come until the second week of class, that's okay. I've designed the class so that everything you need to read and watch lecture-wise and all that kind of stuff to complete that first week's discussion board is in Blackboard. You do not need Give Me Liberty or Voices of Freedom for week 1 because many students, classes start on a Monday. Many students aren't going to be ready to read books the very first day of class, and that's okay. You just need to get them for the next week, with week 2. The digital textbook is very cool. You can highlight in it. You can take notes in it. It's really neat, and I might do another video showing you how to do that because it's kind of nifty. It's intuitive, which is good too. So as you're reading, you can, you know, if you move your mouse over some text like this, it'll actually bring up, you know, you can highlight it different colors. You can write notes. It's pretty neat. So hopefully that will be helpful because I'm a big note taker myself, and it really helps if you take notes as you read. It helps you retain the information. If you have a question, or if you think of, oh, this will be really good in a discussion comment, jot it down in there, and then when you go back to look at it, you can find that. There are going to be additional readings assigned by me in Blackboard. We've got some other primary documents and things that we're going to look at. Those are all in Blackboard under the appropriate weeks and in the correct folders. A note on e-text, you can opt out. You have to complete the opt-out form no later than 3 days after the start date, and there's a link here where you can learn about that. So what are we going to do in here? Well, that's a good question. How do we explain the rise of the early American Republic and its subsequent division? Between the age of pre-contact civilization and the outbreak of civil war in 1861, North America became a colonized land as native civilizations were plundered and went to war with Europeans, followed by the colonies' war with an empire and the founding of a republic. The United States emerged from a war a weak union with sectionalist divides. These changes were neither inevitable nor welcomed by all natives, Africans, or European colonists. By paying attention to the voices of contemporaries, we will try to answer a series of perplexing questions in American history, including, what does freedom mean? What does mainstream history leave out or ignore during this era? And what is the proper relationship between individuals and government? So we're going to talk about all kinds of things, Native American ways of life, methods of colonization, because there were different types and processes. Different European powers and different groups used different types of colonization, so it's important to talk about those. We're going to talk about the American Revolution, the rise of popular politics, sectionalism, and others. I know you're like, okay, Amanda, we super don't care. How are you going to grade us? I hope at least some people are caring about that. But here is how grading is going to work. Participation is going to be 20% of your grade. That is because one of the things historians like to do is sit around and talk about stuff. And we're going to talk about stuff in written form. So this is also going to include inquisitive activities. So that's the other coursework that's referenced here. So we have 3 discussion boards throughout the semester. I think they're weeks 1, 2, and 8. Different topics that you'll need to answer. You write about 500 words on that, and then you do comments on at least 2 classmates' posts. There is an FAQ sheet, discussion board FAQ, under the Welcome tab on Blackboard, which if you watch the Blackboard tour, you'll know exactly where that is. You'll have inquisitive assignments most weeks. Those are kind of fun, like you go in, and I'll probably post a video walking talking about it, but the week 2 you'll have a how to use inquisitive, which you click on it and it goes into inquisitive, and it's basically this thing that you do to learn how to use it. And you can actually wager how confident you are in the question before you start it, and you earn points as you go. And the target goal is like 1,500 points, and you have to do a minimum amount of questions to get to that. So once you do the minimum amount of questions, you can stop, or you can keep going, and if you get to the 1,500 points, that's a 100 for that participation grade. And different questions, if you use the confidence slider and, say, hey, I think I might know this, or maybe I'm not so sure, the points that you wager are varied. So, and again, that will make a lot more sense once you do the how to use inquisitive under week 2. And of course, after you do that, please let me know if you have any questions. All right, 40%, so that's 20% is going to be participation in the discussion boards and the inquisitive activities. 40% is exams. You'll have 3 exams. They'll be in weeks 4, 7, and the last day of class, which the last day of class is a Monday. Your exam will be due by noon that day. It will open 5 days before that. So I'm not going to, this class is going to, okay. This class is about time management. Super hardcore time management. It's the summer. Right? So we're doing everything in about half the time, which means everything is due on a certain day. Usually it's going to be a Friday unless it's otherwise specified. That means you have the whole week to do 2 inquisitive activities, watch lecture notes, read, take a test, or write a paper, or submit a group paragraph. More on that in a minute. Just because you have the whole week doesn't mean you should wait the whole week to do all of them. The idea is that I don't want to impose a bunch of different due dates for everything during a week, because I want you to be able to prioritize based on how you learn and, the way it makes sense for you to do things. And I want you to get everything turned in by Friday night, unless it's otherwise specified. So you're going to have like 3+ things to do in most weeks. How you budget your time to get all of that in by Friday night is up to you. Basically. I hope that makes sense. So your first exam is 10% of your grade. The second 2 are worth 15 each. The reason why the first one is worth less is because you may not have ever taken a test with me. We have an identification section. So the identification section on the exam is written. The other stuff is multiple choice, true, false. There is an exam video. There is an exam identification example, and there are study guides for every exam. So plenty of information on what that identification section is going to look like. coming to you as we get closer to that first exam in week 4. In fact, I think the video is already available in week 4. So if you want to, you can go ahead and look at what that's going to look like. But you don't have to do that right now. It's there for when you get to it. So the reason why the first exam is only worth 10% is because you may not have taken a test with me before. It's not open note. It's not open book. You're supposed to take it in a time limit in one sitting. And so the first one counts for a little bit less because you guys might not be, history might not be your strong suit, or you might not really understand, going in, you read the instructions on how to do the identification, you know what's expected, but then you get into it and you're like, oh, I don't know if I did that right. That's why the first test counts less. And then the second test and the third exam, they each count for 15%, so that way the idea is after that first test you're more comfortable, you know what to expect, and so the other ones count a little bit more. I hope that makes sense. 40% is papers/assignments. You'll do one 3 to 5 page original argumentative essay based on course readings and addressing major themes in the course. That should have a period. I don't know why I didn't see that. But that paper is worth 25, so a quarter of your grade, 25% of your grade, okay? Because you're only doing one. And there are 2 prompts. You'll pick one. They're due on week 6. You will have received detailed feedback on 2 discussion boards, 2 group paragraph questions, and 1 exams identification section before you turn that paper in. So you will have gotten comprehensive feedback on your writing and on historical writing from me on multiple occasions before you submit that paper. That being said, if you have an outline or you have a draft or you have an idea of how you want to approach a paper and you're not sure, please contact me and let me know what your plan is. And I can let you know if you're on the right track, if there's something maybe you should look at instead. But you're not going to go into writing a paper totally blind. You will have, and once you see the week 1 feedback from me, you'll understand what I mean. I go through and I write multiple paragraphs for every single student. So please read that, because you'll want to use that week 1 and week 2, especially the discussion board feedback, to make sure that you don't make those same errors, because writing for a new discipline like history, it's different from writing for English. And there are some things that you'll need to know, and some things that we'll work on, some things that you'll see in that discussion board FAQ document, etc. So read the feedback I give you. It will help you do better. I take the time to do it, not only because I should, but also because I hope that you're going to read it so that you can be a stronger writer by the time this semester is over. That's my goal, because we can all get better. So that is 25% of your grade and due on week 6, that 1 paper. Like I said, there are 2 prompts. You will choose 1, and you will write a 3 to 5 page paper using only course readings. This is not a research paper. You'll use Give Me Liberty, you'll use Voices of Freedom, you'll use any relevant readings from Blackboard, you'll use lecture. That's it. If you've come across a source that you think would really, 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 really be helpful, you have to email me and get it pre-approved, okay? But I'm not trying to make extra work for you. You're going to put extra work on yourself if you turn it into a research paper. It is not a research paper. Okay. Group paragraphs are the other 15% of this category. So, I will talk about that a little bit more when we get to the Blackboard tour. But you'll be sorted into groups randomly in Blackboard that first week of class. And you will need to, as a group, compose and turn in 1 typed double-spaced paragraph of approximately a half page, between 150 to 200 words. This might be difficult because you might want to write more. And I know some of you are giggling like, no, I don't. But wait until you see the questions. Now, none of the questions are designed to make it hard to do this. It might be that you get into the topic and you realize that there's a lot more to talk about than you thought. You have to do your best to be concise. Editing is a process. This is to work on editing and concise writing and using evidence to get across an argument in a certain amount of time. Okay? So this will help you. It is supposed to be 150 to 200 words. I'm not going to read anything that's like 500 words. It's sanity, right? Like, no. You need to do your best to stay within that word limit, and you need to be concise. Okay, you will do this 3 times. So each group paragraph assignment will be 5%, so 5, 5, 5, totaling 15% across the board for all those. They are in weeks 3, 5, and 9. And I will go over the group paragraph assignments and all that kind of stuff when we get to the Blackboard tour, because there's a special tab for groups in Blackboard, and I will show you that, and I'll show you what the assignments are. All right, late work. It is hard to turn in late work to me, and there are reasons for that. I think it's unfair if you don't have a legitimate reason, like a documented excuse, right? Like a doctor's note, an emergency, a death in the family. Maybe you're an essential worker. You can give me documentation for that. All of those things are documented excuses. I forgot or I overslept. Not documented excuses. And for me to accept late work for these assignments for participation, where it's, you know, would I accept you coming into class late? It's just ending, and you're like, oh, I'm here, I'm late, I'm sorry, I overslept. Can I get participation points for being in class discussion? Well, no, you can't, because you weren't in class. So that is why, without a documented excuse, I do not give extensions for discussion boards or paragraph assignments, because that's the same as like group work and group and class-wide discussions. So if we were having discussion on a Tuesday at 12:30, and you showed up at 1:43 when the class was ending, and tried to come in and have discussion, we wouldn't be able to do that, right? There's another class coming in. So I can't accept those late discussion boards without a documented excuse. If you have a documented excuse, please let me know. I'm super duper happy to work with you and provide an extension if needed. You know, we all have things that happen to us, and it is unfortunate, and I'm happy to help where I can. But you need to have some sort of documentation, some sort of really good reason why you haven't been able to turn this in. Okay. Papers. I will accept papers late. You will lose 3 points for every day. That is not class day. That is day of the week, including weekends. You'll lose 3 points every day that they're late. And once it's 2 weeks past due, I won't take it anymore. And tests, I cannot let you make that up without a documented excuse. If I were to give an exam during class day on a Thursday and you showed up at the end of class to take the test, couldn't let you take the test then, right? So without a documented excuse, I cannot take a late test submission. The test will actually disappear and you will not be able to take it. Writing. Obviously, as you can tell from the things discussed above, we're going to write some things. There's a citation builder here. We're going to use MLA for the paper and the, the discussion boards and stuff, the group paragraph. So all that's going to be like little in-text citations. And there's a how to cite video under week 1 in Blackboard that shows that. 10-point scale. The Grade Center. Now, I was the very much the Hermione Granger of my classes when I was in college and graduate school. And I really liked to know what my grade was all the time. And I like to assume that I have at least somebody in my class who feels that way too. So I keep up with Grade Center pretty well, and that's where you're going to keep up with your grades. I will get tests and papers, those bigger assignments, back to you with grades within 2 weeks. Usually, and anybody who's had me before can tell you, usually it's less than 2 weeks. But I like to say 2 weeks. I'm teaching 3 classes this summer. Also, as I'm sure many of you know, children are home with parents, so I have that going for me too. And so I may not be able to turn papers around in 1 week like I can if I have the time in my office by myself. So I give myself that 2 weeks just so I have a buffer, and it might be less than 2 weeks, but it will not be more than 2 weeks unless something crazy happens on my end of things, in which case I will communicate with you and let you know, because communication is really important. Discussion boards, smaller assignments like discussion boards, group paragraphs, that'll be within 1 week. You'll get comments, you'll get broad feedback in the feedback to learner section. You will also, on papers, get annotations and marks directly on the paper. And in group paragraphs, I will actually download the file, I will track changes in Word, and I will do comments and notes on your group paragraph. So, like I said, when week 6 comes and that paper is due, you will have had many instances of me giving feedback on your writing before you turn that paper in, okay? And I'll comment on your exams and your identification sections as well. Okay, things you need to know. We're almost done, I promise. I know syllabus is always a long one that nobody likes to do, but it's so important because we have to get through all this information and you need to know what's expected of you and what you can expect from me and all that good stuff. Remember, this is a summer class. We're moving at about double the pace. Double the pace, okay? So if you feel like you are not able to read multiple chapters, do multiple inquisitives, do a discussion board, do an exam, maybe all in the same week, this may not be the time for you to take this class. I offer it in the fall and the spring as well. If you're not sure, please get up with me. We'll talk about it, okay? Check your email daily. You will get emails from me at the beginning of the week laying out, hey guys, it's week 2. This is what we're going to do this week. You'll get an email from me if something happens in the middle of the week that I think you need to know about. But usually you get emails from me at least through Blackboard on the Monday and on the Friday. Because the Monday is, here's what we're doing, and the Friday is, okay, remember this is due by tonight. This. You got to turn these things in by tonight at 11:59 p.m. So that is how I will get in touch with you, right? Is sending announcements out via email or emailing you individually if there's an issue or something. So you need to be checking your email. Or if Blackboard loses your exam, or if I'm like, uh-oh, you answered only 6 questions on this, I might email you and say, hey, did you do that on purpose? And if you don't check your email, then bam, you get like a 12 or an 18 on the test that you really thought you took, and then Blackboard ate part of it, right? So check your email, because then we can fix any problems, and you will know exactly what is expected of you each week, and reminders on what to do and all that good stuff. So check your email. All right. You gotta do all the things. It's a summer class, which means I gotta do all the things too, right? So if it's double the pace for you, it's double the pace for me as well. We're gonna use Blackboard. We're gonna do tests, groups, all that kind of stuff. So you're gonna need to know how to use a computer. There are lecture outlines provided on Blackboard, and the lecture notes, which is the script I lecture from, is also available on Blackboard. So they go along with the videos. You can either just watch the videos and take notes. The lecture outlines have keywords and discussion questions. You don't have to turn those in. That's for you. I've had students who make extra spaces between all the keywords and fill those in, the who, what, when, where, so what, as I talk, because that's where all of the exam stuff comes from. I've had students do that, and they take notes that way. I've had students print out the entire script and highlight it as I speak. And then I've had students just jot things down while I'm talking, and they don't have other stuff in front of them, and that's fine too. So it's whatever works for you, okay? But those resources are available to you, especially in such a fast-paced semester. Try to see if any of that stuff works for you to help you digest the information at a reasonable pace, because if those resources help you, that's a great thing. All right, we're going to use respectful language to refer to groups, individuals, and fellow students. Comments and feedback given to fellow students should be constructive. Harassment or inappropriate behavior will not be tolerated. We're going to be talking about slavery. We're going to be talking about sexuality. We're going to be talking about, all kinds of, white supremacy and race and politics and all kinds of things that are really hot topics still today. It is totally okay to disagree. That is, some of the most constructive conversations come from disagreement. And we're going to disagree based on facts and evidence, because you can argue multiple sides of the same point with different types of evidence, and we're going to do it respectfully. So I have no problem with disagreements in threads as long as it is respectful and evidence-based. No problem at all. I think that's great. Let's rock on with that. Plagiarism will not be tolerated. Please don't do it. Please, please, please don't do it. I think it's the thing that upsets me the most, because it is such a waste of your talent and your effort and your intellect for you to do that. And it makes me so mad, because you're really just cheating yourself. A lot of you are either using financial aid or paying out of pocket to be here, and to me it does not make sense to waste that by just not actually doing something and trying to pass off someone else's work as your own. There is a handout in the Welcome tab on Blackboard called Is This Plagiarism? That might be helpful when it comes time to write your papers and cite your class sources. If you have any questions, if you're not sure what is plagiarism, please let me know. Please ask me. We'll talk it through. Lots of ways to get in contact with me. There's email. We will have the virtual office hours. You've got the Google Voice phone number at the top of the syllabus, so all that good stuff is available to you. I am easily found, basically, is what that means. Attendance policy. This is like we've got this and one more thing. Attendance policy. You will have something to do every single week. You need to do at least one of those things every single week to remain in the class. Now, I would highly recommend you do all of the things because otherwise you'll get zeros on things and that's not great. So, you can miss 2 weeks. Or wait, you can miss 1 week. Sorry, it's the summer. Everything's twice as fast. You can miss 1 week. I do not advise that because you'll miss a lot of stuff. That's like missing 2 weeks in a regular semester. So you can miss 1 week. I wouldn't. You know, things happen. If you have to miss a week, then you have to. But that's all you get. So if you don't turn anything in on like week 2, for example, and then week 5 comes around and you don't turn anything in, well, you've missed a second week and I have to drop you from the class. In some cases, I can do reinstatement. It just depends on what's going on with you in the class and all that kind of stuff. So, hopefully everybody will attend every week. Hopefully nobody will miss more than 1 week. But that's the policy. You can only miss 1 week. If you get dropped for absences with the WF, it will affect your financial aid. It will affect your GPA. It's not great. So again, if you're worried about not being able to attend or if you want to drop the class, it is best to drop yourself. But you need to get up with me and we need to talk about it first. That's all. Okay. I don't believe that any Johnson County Public Schools have state-mandated testing over the summer. However, if you do for some reason, let me know. Jolt is here to help you. They can help you with stuff. Yeah. Religious or solemn observance, we have a form for that. If you're going to miss class due to a religious activity or solemn observance of some kind, you need to get the form to me at least 2 weeks prior to the date of the absence. If you're confused and need to fill out this form, please let me know. Student concerns. This happens. We have a faculty first policy here at JCC. I like to call this the We Are Adults policy at JCC. So basically it says, if there is an issue, please come to me first. Now I can have a dry sense of humor, I can be sarcastic, I can make a joke, but we're communicating largely by a written text, right? Typed words and that kind of thing. Tone doesn't convey very well over typed text usually, right? So if I say something, maybe I'm making a joke, maybe I'm making a really bad joke, because I do dad joke it up a lot, and maybe it hurts your feelings or it comes off as snarky or something like that, please let me know. I will gladly apologize if I've made a mistake, and that happens because I'm a human being, right? We're all human beings. Just like if we have a class discussion and somebody makes a comment that is disrespectful or concerning to me, I will contact that student. I will talk about it with them. So it's a two-way street, that communication thing. Don't just get mad at me and then, never talk about it with me, because it could have been a total misunderstanding and then we clear it up and everybody's fine. So please let me know if there's any sort of issue that you need to talk to me about, okay? If there is an issue and you feel it's too big for us to talk about, there are steps in this chart that you can follow above me if needed. Hopefully that will not be needed. Hopefully if there is any sort of issue, it's small and it's something we can talk about together. Again, I encourage you to contact me and let me know if there is something we need to talk out. I'm happy to do that. All right, folks. That's the syllabus. I'm so sorry that took over 30 minutes. Lots of things to talk about, and it's the summer, so lots and lots of things to talk about. If you have any questions about any of that, please get up with me. Also, make sure that you watch the Blackboard tour video, and then you dive right into the introduction materials and week 1 stuff that we have for this week, because we do have things due by Friday. So please contact me if you need any additional clarification or if you have any other questions about any of the syllabus stuff or anything else. And welcome to the class. I'm excited for a great summer semester.